Well, good morning. Good morning to everybody who's joining us in the live session today. Today is September the 21st, 2025, and I will be your host today. My name is Sahil. Welcome to the channel, guys. I'm Sahil Sal, and I'm a licensed immigration consultant, and I practice Canadian immigration all the time. So that is what you hear from us on all across our social media channels. Today's live is all about Canadian immigration. As always, we will be discussing major updates with regards to Canadian immigration, which happened pretty much primarily in the last week. Today, we have tons of updates for you. We have something important that is coming in from Prime Minister Carney. Couple of things that he mentioned in terms of his latest ongoing approach. Then we will be talking about the study trends with regards to Canada, the downward spiral downward trend, and then a controversial survey that was done recently. We'll talk about that as well. Not to forget, we'll talk about PNP's major update coming in from Alberta PNP. That is something that needs to be covered today. Apart from that, the blazing long-term weight that is coming in IRCC with regards to certain PR programs, which is causing a lot of stir. That is something that we need to look at. Apart from that, we'll take a look at the express entry draws that happened in the past week or so. It is important to have a look at it, properly dissect the pool, and then to see what to expect in the near future. A couple of PNP draws as well. We will have a closer look at the PNP draws and also the ongoing IRCC processing timelines. That is also something that needs to be taken, or given a proper closer look. So, guys, let's just quickly get started with today's, presentation. We do have something important that is coming in with.
Now it's clear that
if you look at this particular news or this particular latest update that was there from Prime Minister Mark Carney, he did say that the Canadian immigration is going to change in a lot of updates. Now, Prime Minister Mark Carney says they are working on newer immigration policies. Now, we all know that the month of November is coming around the corner. Month of November means we will have the new immigration levels plan. Just like every year, Canada will be issuing its 3-year, multi-year immigration levels plan. And this year, we expect them to bring in more updates. Now, all across, in terms of updates, we know that IRCC at the back end is working very hard on overhauling the temporary foreign worker program. They have already worked on overhauling the study permit for the longer period of time. Temporary foreign worker is ideally the center of attraction at the moment, and also they are looking at reducing the number of temporary residents in the country. Also, they're looking at removing a lot of people who are living in the country illegally. So all of that put together, Prime Minister Carney says that we are looking at bringing in more changes, as you can see here. They also said that more focused approach, which means bigger changes within that. Now, could that be around the recent changes of H1B? Because Trump administration did put in a big prize money on H1B, which clearly means that people who are not able to get into the US may want to get into Canada. Companies who are not willing to shell out a lot of money, maybe 100,000 per applicant per year, is obviously, it's a big amount of money. Could that mean that Toronto could be the next Silicon Valley? Who knows? If the Trump administration focuses on their Trump card, which is the new gold and the platinum card, which means they would be driving away a lot of talent to Canada, because UK, as we already know, is on a tighter leash of things. Australia is way far away from the US mainland, and only next to US is the northern neighbor, which is Canada. So I believe this could be a boon for Canada in disguise. We've already had the H1B bypass about 2 years ago, which brought in a lot of people from US, but that program was not much successful because people from US did take it, but they were shy in landing in Canada, actually converting from US H1B to Canada. But this time they're forced to do that. Microsoft has been issuing advisories, and the other bigger giants have been issuing advisories. I believe the global talent stream could just be an escape route for a lot of people. We have C20 work permit, which is the reciprocal benefits. They could use that. For US nationals, we could be looking at bringing in Kuzma work permits as well. So, couple of things here and there, but I believe this could really mean, the upcoming time could really mean a lot of changes for Canadian immigration, and also the temporary foreign worker program. So yeah, we could probably see a couple of important things coming in here and there. Apart from that, the major updates coming in from the first half of 2025, which is uh, specifically with regards to study permits. Now, study permits, as we all know, after all the changes that IRCC did in the past 1.5 year now, because they started making changes in 2024, and that sort of peaked in early 2025, we are only sitting at 36,417 permits issued so far, which is 90,000 versus which is down nearly 90,000 versus the 125,000 in the first half of 2024, which is way down, which is way lower than that. In fact, the number of applications applied for is nearly a 50% drop. So that also is a bigger thing. This particular news is coming in with regards to this latest update that came in. Let me just quickly bring it on the screen if you can see this. So this is the latest coverage, which says permits for international students from study abroad plummeted within the first year. About 90,000 fewer permits issued so far, which is obviously not a good number to look at. Canada issued 125,000 study permits in the year 2020 up until the first of 2024, but this time it's only 36,000, and they are not bringing in more people. They're not even looking at bringing in a lot of people together. So this really only points us towards the fact that we recently saw ex posts from IRCC, and they are accepting out in the open that we have been giving lesser number of study permits. We are happily giving higher number of refusals, and despite that, they're openly accepting it because they're now giving decision notes as well, ODN as they call it, officer decision notes. With this, they're unapologetically refusing files, which only means or is aligning with the goal of the Liberal government at the moment of bringing in lesser number of temporary residents to the country. And the same trend can be seen at, when you're applying for visitor visas, you can see adverse decisions with regards to even super visas as well, which is not really, very common to see. But yes, time is such that IRCC is doing that. But at the same time, there was a recent survey that was published by Apply Board, which happens to be one of the bigger companies in terms of inviting international students. It said that the trend, Canada still appears to be number one destination for study permit. Now, the words here can be misleading. Canada can be the number one leader, but at the same time, you look at UK, there are protests. You look at US, they've actually stopped giving, visa appointments altogether. Then there is Australia. We know Australia has made getting study visas the tightest or the hardest at this moment. So globally, if you look at, there are 5 major destinations, which includes US, UK, Australia, Canada, and then you have the other countries like Germany and then Japan and everything. So obviously, Canada can still be number one despite being the lowest of them all. So it's like within the lowest performing candidates, Canada still might be the highest performing candidate, but altogether the number of applications is still low. Now, what makes me wonder here is that why? Because Canada has become tighter, or is that why? Because India has become more developed, or China has become more developed? Because at the same time, what we are seeing is that these countries like India, China, the major sourcing countries, they contribute to over 80% of the international students. These countries have also made milestones worth of developments within their own countries. At this moment, if you look at India, the number of the admissions that are happening locally is at an all-time high. If you look at US, the PhD candidates were primarily, almost 50% of the candidates were foreign-born candidates. But at this moment, almost most of the people are actually, so in terms of important institutes or rather prestigious institutes in India, they have a record number of applicants, such profiles which they've never had in the past. So is this telling you that India has made its mark, or rather China has made its mark, or is Canada losing its shine? That only time will tell. But yes, so far, this is what is happening in terms of international student community. If you look at the Alberta immigrant nominee program, at this moment, Alberta has some good news, a bit of a respite for people. Look at this. The September 9th post says that IRCC has provided AAIB, which is Alberta Advantage Immigrant Nominee Program, an additional 1,528 spots, raising a total allocation to 6,403. Again, we all know that Alberta, along with the other provinces, faced a 50% reduction in their quotas, and these numbers have now been pumped up. Every province has been given some additional spots, and so has Alberta been given. This is after additional allocations to New Brunswick, Newfoundland, and in all of those. So I believe these numbers could be chewing away the economic targets of Canadian immigration altogether. But yes, the good part is that people who are in Alberta could be looking at about 1,500 and odd spots here and there, which is still only a bite of the 6,400 invitations that they might have, or the total allocations that they might have for the year 2025, which is still very low, I believe. But still, the number might be low. It is still there. On the other hand, the startup visa is facing a lot of challenges at the moment. Like startup visa, if you look at I'm not sure if you have had a chance to look at the numbers. This is how the IRCC applications and the inventories and the backlogs look like. And if you go through this particular says how many files are in backlog, how many files are within the service standard. So you're looking about 2.3 million worth of 2.3 million worth of total application in IRCC's, kitty, out of which 409,000 in TR, 443,000 in PR, and citizenship is about 50,000, approximately that. Now, within this, the important part to look at is waiting times for new applicants. Now, this is important, okay? IRCC says that if you want to apply for startup visa in the first quarter or the second quarter of 2025, the waiting time could be well above 420 months. Okay, now 420 months is how many, 40 years, I believe, or 12 months is 1 year. If you look at almost, beyond 30 years. So what I believe is that startup visa has sort of hit the ceiling at this moment. Now, if you look at the processing time, the processing time of a startup visa is right now sitting at 53 months. That's the overall 80% quad of what is supposed to happen to the existing applications in the file, in the pool. But the newer applications that get submitted within the Q1 and Q2, they are looking at an approximate processing time or waiting time of 420 months. Why is this happening? That is important to know. I believe, in my personal opinion, startup visa has been plagued with two important things. One, consultants, lawyers, fake agents, fake lawyers, ghost agents across the globe have misused startup visa to such an extent that IRCC is now forced to do additional sort of checks on the upcoming and the existing startup visa applications. Certain designated agencies have also been highlighted at the same time for malpractices and producing bad quality of files. At the same time, I believe the person or the officers required to do an assessment on these startups is not the regular officer with a regular understanding of an express entry or a spousal visa. Because when you're assessing the financial performances or the evaluation reports of a startup, that would include heavy assessment of their financials, certain terms like EBITDA and rounds of funding, and then revenues and all of that, which normally people do not understand. So they need to have that special sort of training delivered to certain officers, and then those officers will be assessing, and then the number of applications requiring the performance agreements and all of that. So all of that put together, hence I believe IRCC, if I look at 420 months, this is ballpark scrapping only. I'm not saying that IRCC is scrapping the startup visa, but what else does it mean? If you are saying that any new applications will take 420 months flat, why would even somebody apply for it? Because startups, more than often, they just start and they probably get wrapped up within 5 to 7 years of operations as well. And sometimes don't even see an MVP coming out or a product being rolled out. So this might as well be the end of startup visas also, or the startup visa program. Now, could IRCC be looking at overhauling this program? Could IRCC be looking at a replacement of the startup visa program? That only time will tell, because right now I believe Canada desperately requires a good entrepreneur, good business immigration program for PR. If you look at the business immigration programs of the country so far, I look at only certain PNPs like Alberta, to some extent, New Brunswick, the newer one, the business immigration, the program, and then Ontario is already suffering. British Columbia is pretty much closed up. So I believe Canada at the moment does have bits and pieces of business immigration for work permit separately under say 10, 11. Even the self-employed has gone for a toss. ICT is still there, but they are witnessing or about to witness further changes in the TFW, or the Temporary Foreign Worker Program. That being said, we still have minor programs for work permit here and there, but nothing for business immigration PR. Just like Trump, look at Trump. He launched the Trump Gold Card, the Trump Platinum Card, which I believe is a very strong step. And they are blatantly accepting $1 million and $5 million worth of gift to the US government, which I believe is something what IRCC can also take a hint from, and then try to utilize that accordingly, right? But yes, that is something that I like. Canada immigration does desperately require a very, very good business immigration program. On the other hand, I believe express entry now demands our attention, guys. Express entry has been all over the place since last week. The last draw, the round that you saw, was the trade draw that happened on September 18th, which is just about this gone week. This was 505 invitations only. The CRS was 505 with 1250 invitations only. Now, guys, 505 for a trade draw, it's not even digestible. I'm still traveling, so when I saw this draw, I didn't even feel like making a video on it, because what do I tell people, with 505 worth of a trade draw, what do you expect? Guys, at the same time, I would request you, anybody who's watching, please keep on dropping your comments in the comment section, because after you're done with the live, we will be taking a look at your questions, and then I'll give you the answers. Okay, so just putting it out there. Now, trade draw 505. If you look at the last year's trade draw, what I believe it was 435. First, why are we seeing such a high trade draw? The answer is pretty simple, because of two factors. One, IRCC increased their NOC codes. Earlier there were only 10 NOC codes, now beyond 23, I believe 23, 25. And that is one. And secondly, the size of the draw is just 1250. Do we expect another trade draw? At least I do. I mean, I am expecting IRCC to hold another trade draw. I am thinking about 3,500 was the previous draw for last year. If I just, closely have a look at this. If you look at this, so we had one trade draw rather two trade draws in 2024. So one was 1,800 and the other one was also 1,800. So 3,600 people. Are we expecting another trade draw? Definitely yes. Previous year's trade draw happened once in July and once in October. This year we've already seen the end of September, like the second half of September. I think there should be one more, but the key thing here to note is that previous year 435, 433, 436. This year there is the skill trade draw from OINP also that is expected. Now, OINP has been sitting shy of bringing in a lot of people, but yes, I believe the skill trade draw should be around this corner. I believe the second trade draw, if done to the full extent of approximately 2,000 people, this is what I'm expecting, then we should see a sub 500, a higher 490 sort of a draw for the trades in the balance of this year. So that is what I'm expecting so far in trade. If you look at the previous rounds, let me just bring it up on the screen. We had an education draw of 2,500 people sitting at 462. Now this one was a good one, because the previous one that we had was 479. I think we are pretty much done with the education draw. There might not be any more education draws, but there was a PNP draw of 228 invitations only at 746. So this week they wrapped up with approximately 3,800 people being invited, roughly about 3,800 people this week. And then the previous was French and CEC and this. So this upcoming week of, this week should be a lull. The first week of October, somewhere around that, or the end of September, we should see certain, express entry draws happening. Within that should be a PNP draw, at least with a category draw and a CEC draw. Next week, I'm hoping, they do bring in more people. For as far as the draws are concerned, let me just bring it up on the screen. Yeah, so the NOC codes, eligible NOC codes are there. But what I believe is that at this moment, IRCC does have the capacity, although they are sharing capacity or reducing load over to, or they're divulging their quotas towards the PNPs to some extent. But I still believe there is some meat left. But the problem is that if you look at the end of this particular year, we only have 3 months pending, which means at max we can have about 6 to 7 draws if they're lucky. Within those 6 to 7 draws, there will be a couple of category draws. I believe there might be a bit of a French draw left, then some healthcare. I believe how many we've had in healthcare so far. Yeah, so healthcare we have had a couple of draws. We have had approximately 4,000, 2,500, 6,500, then so 7,500 people being invited so far. Again, the problem with healthcare is that they've added new NOC code, and that has pushed up the scores to an extent where IRCC has not been able to consume. But I believe health might not see a lower cutoff anymore. The number of cutoffs for health, if so happens, will be limited to 470s only, because at the same time, OINP will start inviting people in the health category. So that is also happening. But overall, the express entry is not looking in a good shape. At least they're not acting in a way where people are happy about, express entry to some extent. But yeah, I mean, this is the time where, we're all waiting and watching. Everybody just wants to see a better draw in CEC. Hopefully everybody gets invited soon. In terms of PNPs, guys, if you look at PNP, we have had a recent PNP from Manitoba on September the 18th. If you look at this particular draw, this was draw number 254. We saw skilled worker about 911. I believe this is the biggest one that we have seen. Oh no, even the previous one was big. So there's 1,866. But yes, this is pretty big. We saw people being invited, employer services, francophone, regional communities, ethno-culture communities, temporary public policy to this, to facilitate work permit. Altogether, 911 letter of advice to apply were issued. 341 were issued to people who declared a valid express entry profile with a job seeker code. So that is pretty much what we saw. In terms of OINP, we saw a couple of invitations going on in the month of September again. On September, we saw 1,134 invitations going to other priority occupations. September 2nd was 1,305, and this is the reason why I'm saying we might not see a lower health category draw, because OINP has definitely taken a hit on the number of people, and that should seal the deal. In terms of job offer, September 3rd, 759 invitations at 63 of other priorities. And September 2nd, 1,105 invitations of health. Again, then employer job offer in demand, about 233 of health occupations. And total invitations that have happened so far is 3,400 in foreign worker. International student is about 4,730. In demand is about 636. And PhD masters is about 0. So this year, I believe if anybody is looking for an OINP draw, while everything else is happening, we are still waiting for a trade draw, and then we are still waiting for a master stream draw. Those particular 2 draws, I haven't seen anything so far, and we are waiting for it, entrepreneur as well. So OINP should get interesting by the end of this year. That is something that we'll wait and watch. In terms of Alberta, we saw a couple of draws. Let me just bring it up on the screen. Yes. So in aviation, minimum score was about 50, 30 invitations sent on September 10th. Then healthcare, construction, and agriculture saw about 70, 121, and 71 invitations. Alberta Opportunity Stream had a draw on September 4th, which is earlier this month, that saw about 56 worth of a cutoff, sending out 891 invitations. And then the healthcare draw, non-express entry was 44, and then express entry was about 49. Overall, I believe the PNPs are acting pretty much fine in terms of their processing the number of draws. They are doing whatever they can in terms of balancing the previous year's landings, because uh, most of the PNPs are still not issuing NOIs. Like, they're still processing the files and holding back on NOIs. We have seen back-to-back PFLs coming in from Ontario. They are cancelling files as well. So the PNPs are becoming very, very tricky. That is something that we'll have to wait and watch. Overall, in terms of timeline processing, there is a very important and a major update in terms of processings. If you look at the ongoing processing timelines, we are looking at work permits being processed. The numbers has been pushed up to 8 weeks. In terms of work permit from inside Canada, the number is finally down to 191 days. So there's a big 1 month sort of a development there in that spot. If you look at International Experience Canada, current season is happening about 5 weeks. This is round about the same time. Visitor visa is 15 days from inside Canada, which is a TRV application, and about study permits about 6 weeks from inside Canada, which is again an improvement. Overall, I believe IRCC, the newer applications for temporary residents, is IRCC is processing them with a lot of priority at place. But at the same time, the refusal rates are on an all-time high. IRCC is not messing around with them. IRCC is not happy with with the number of people being invited. They are trying to control the temporary resident population within the country, and that is hence why the the processing times have gone by or have gone lesser, because at the end of the day they are just refusing files left, right, and center. Guys, that's all what we have from the updates as of this week. Heading over to our important segment for this week, which is the round of questions and answers. Let's see if people have any questions. Okay. Let me just bring it up on the screen. Okay, interesting question. Sahil, as per the recent ATIP notes, there was nothing mentioned for STEM draw for the quotas for category based draw. You think there'll be at least one STEM draw for this year? Ankit, I believe in terms of looking for a STEM draw in 2025, although IRCC did not remove STEM from the priorities or rather the education categories for 2025, but at the same time, we are seeing that STEM is not sitting in a priority list with respect to PNPs and all the news that is coming out. If you talk to me about STEM draw, the possibility of having a STEM draw this particular year, the category draw for STEM, I believe the probability is extremely low. Unfortunately, there is no official communication or confirmation or prediction tool available from IRCC where we could give you a confirmed prediction. But in terms of the expectation and the possibility, I believe for 2025 at least, STEM category draw possibility is on the lower end of the spectrum. I know this might not be a good news to hear, but this is how we are reading the inputs. I believe there could be one STEM draw to keep the hopes active, because at the same time there should be a transport draw as well. There should be an agriculture draw as well. We all know that agriculture has always been in the demand. Still, there is no agri draw. Hard to say. There could be just one draw towards the end of this year, but PNPs are also sort of not giving the right clear message. Let's wait and watch. Then okay. Hello. What about NOC 13100 administrative officer? Are there any chances of invitations from Alberta? Again, my friend, hard to predict any NOC codes from a particular province. But overall, I believe the NOC code 13100 is a little on the lower end of the spectrum for invitation, because it is more of a more of a business immigration, business management sort of an NOC code, which doesn't sit right in the spot of the invitation priorities. So we might be looking at lesser chances of this NOC code being invented. That's what I think. But yes, you do have this NOC code being a part of a couple of RCIPs, not all of them, but a couple of RCIPs as well. Okay, Dikshit, it is time to go home, please. No, my friend, it is not the time to go home. It is the time to stay strong, and you have to look at your chances. You have to do an assessment on your file. See if going home might as well be a good option, because going home working from your home country adds almost 50 points to your file. But not everybody. Sometimes people just want to stay inside Canada and hold on to their thoughts while they might not have other better options. So that take a very judgmental call on the file. Hi sir, my CRS is 476. Any chance in the education e-draw after November 2025? Will education draw continue 2026 and expected cutoff? Thank you. Dakshit, yes, I believe 476 is a good draw in education express entry. Is a good score to remain in express entry. If you look at the previous draws that we have seen so far, I believe the previous one that happened, let me just take a quick look at that. Okay, so the previous one happened at 462, then there was 479, the one before that. I believe, yes, it's a good score. You should be very hopeful with this. Beyond November 2025, no, I don't think there would be another one express entry draw for education category. But yes, for now, we know that education might just be, in preference for next year as well. So keeping, fingers crossed at this moment. Okay, are cooks responsible for such a high score in the trade draw? Is it true IRCC is looking to eliminate cooks from the trade category? Well, honest answer, yes. Cooks are one of the major reasons why we have had an important, such a different draw for trade, such a high draw for trade. IRCC, I believe, did a mistake in adding cooks to the trade NOC code, because trades primarily were considered to be plumbers, carpenters, technicians, automotive technicians, those sort of trades, because they included trade, cooks there, because cooks also have a trade certification, which is the Red Seal. That is probably why this was added. But at the same time, the number of people who have misused this NOC code, because it is not an entry barrier. Okay, so number of fake cooks have actually created the issue where we are sitting at. This is also evident from the fact that major number of NOC codes in the trade at this moment, as per the ATIP notes, we already saw ATIP notes happening this year. The department has said that there were a lot of cooks in that. Yes, that could be one of the reasons why IRCC is looking to or probably is playing around with the fact, with a very high trade draw. Can IRCC eliminate? I think yes, they can definitely eliminate, remove NOC codes next year and add more. Do we have any indication so far? No, but I believe they are definitely looking at cooks more specifically, more precisely. I believe there might be a major change coming in the trade NOC codes for next year. Okay. Harsh Gupta, 525 in CC profile. Is it possible to get 525 this year? Harsh, yes, I believe 525 is a good score. Looking at the number of quotas that we have left over so far by sheer mathematical calculations, I believe there is still good scope for CC this year. I believe within CC, you should see a high 518 plus sort of a draw if the trend continues. Otherwise, God knows if IRCC suddenly decides to stop bringing in more people and pushes these numbers for next, because these numbers are already landing for next year. So we will have to wait and watch. But yes, I believe 525 is still a good score if you remain in the pool active. Okay, let's take a look at this question. I have a question. I'm 6+ years experience in software profession. What are the ways I could get a job and work permit in Canada, Ontario? Aman Kumar, if you have 6+ years worth of software IT experience, I believe in order to get a work permit / job offer, your first thing to do is you have to start looking for jobs online. You can try using in platforms like Indeed, LinkedIn, the job bank, and try to look at job openings. Try to reach out to those employers directly. Try to stay away from immigration agents, lawyers, ghost agents, ghost local consultants, whatever, in your local country, and try to find jobs directly with the companies. The document that you're looking for is known as an LMIA, and the employer / the company should be able to provide it to you without any charge. It should be for free. So if you qualify in the interviews, if you get a job, they will give you an LMIA, and then you can use that LMIA document to apply for your work permit. The second part to your question, like an added on answer, is that at this moment in 2025, getting an LMIA is extremely tough, and the number of refusals are very, very high. So I wish you all the best that you do get your job offer, but don't be very hopeful on that. The chances of getting that are on a lower end of the spectrum. Okay. Okay, let's look at this question. Could you tell me if my 6 months experience will be completed on November 15th? Would I become eligible from November 1st? If I get an ITA before November, could I accept the ITA and continue talks after November 15th? Yes, Dakshit. If you get an ITA in the month of November, and if you're completing your timeline within the month of November, then you can accept the ITA, but make sure that you submit your file after you've completed the due required duration of that job or that program or that category. After you know that your hours are complete, minus the time spent outside Canada / holidays, vacations, and overtime taken, calculate the number of hours per week. And as long as your weeks are coming in together, your hours are putting in well, then you can go ahead and submit the file. So you can accept an ITA before, then during the next 60 days, you can complete the required experience and then submit the file. Do not submit the file before your experience is complete. It's a sort of a glitch / program update where they only accept MMYY, and it is common to happen. Okay. Okay, Deep, good question. OINP skill trade lower cutoff, and will we even see a draw this year? 72100. Deep, yes, I am truly waiting for for an OINP skill trade draw. I believe somewhere around 470s to 80s should be a sort of a draw that we are looking at. Honestly, this trade draw from Ontario was very high. Once we see a lower trade cutoff from Ontario, from IRCC, then I think we should see a decent trade draw from OINP. So wait for another trade draw from IRCC, and then you should see a trade draw, a skill trade draw from OINP. Okay, that's the trend that I should be waiting for. My family class PR visa is refused, so can apply for visitor visa for Canada. So any suggestions? I believe if your family class PR is refused, then there is some serious trouble that is happening in your file. Although you can apply for a visitor visa as long as you're not found inadmissible or being charged with misrep in any way. I believe you will have to first order your GCMS notes. If your PR visa is refused, make sure that there are no inadmissibilities, no misrepresentations or bans. If everything is okay, then you can go ahead and apply for a PR. Apply for a TRV, and if needed, apply for a dual intent TRV so that there is no conflict on your intent of visiting Canada. I hope that helps you well. Okay, in terms of processing time, non-express entry process went up to 20 months compared to 11 months last year. With less PNP nominations issued, how can the timeline shoot up? Joy, the non-express entry PR applications are not just PNPs. They also include spousal applications. They include pilot programs, AIPs, RCIPs, all the programs of the world, HNC applications. So yes, the processing timelines can go up. Why is the processing time up? Because they're waiting for confirmations from the PNPs. All of that is happening. So the processing, IRCC has become extremely strict in processing their files. They are doing double check on everything. This particular phase of IRCC is the strictest we have seen in the past couple of years. So yes, like I said, the non-express entry PR files is not just PNP. It is all the economic programs and everything put together. That is why the number is up. But still, I believe these pausals and all of those files are happening pretty quickly. So be hopeful in that. Everything should be okay. Guys, we'll take last question of the evening. Okay. Hi, my 6-month experience sums up only if I add my student experience, which was part-time. Can I use my student experience for eligibility? I've received IT and education draw. I believe you can use a student year experience only if that experience was gained outside Canada. If you worked in Canada on study permit, then you cannot claim it for work experience / points under Canadian experience for your IT and PR. If you did work in your home country while you were studying, that is fine, not inside Canada. Okay. I hope that sort of helps you out in terms of your question. Perfect, guys. Thanks a lot for joining in on today's live. I know I've been taken aback. I've been traveling, so sort of been busy, with the stuff here and there. But yes, IRCC does keep everybody up on their toes, and I truly appreciate your time this morning on Sunday. I hope you guys enjoy your morning and evening around the globe wherever you are, and I wish you all the best. And I really hope to see you soon in Canada. All the best.